I myself, the producer of this podcast, is not eligible to diagnose anyone with a mental health disorder. This podcast is purely for artists discussing the mental health hurdles they struggle with on a daily basis. So today on Where Is My Mind, a podcast about mental health in the arts, I'm interviewing an artist I've never met before. And today we have Matt Stoner on. Matt has been working as an actor since he was 9. And in 2017, he founded Foxstone Entertainment, which is a full-service film and television production studio. In 2020, he completed his first inaugural project, I Wrote This For You, which made waves on the film festival circuit by securing 10 wins and 16 nominations. With all that success, Matt still feels the pressure of making it. He feels the pressure of making it because he says he comes from a house and a family of working artists. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, here's Matt Stoner and I talking about the pressures of making it as an artist. Enjoy.
All right, man. What's going on?
Not too much. How about you?
Not much, man. This is interesting. Like, out of all my guests, you're the one person I just met. We met through Facebook. As these things happen. I think we met on, through a Facebook group. I'm not sure which one. And when I posted about this topic, you reached out to me. In the past few months, you've been very gracious of like, I might have to reschedule. Can you do this? Can you do that? So first of all, I want to thank you very much. And I know you're calling from Los Angeles, so
Yeah, of course.
I appreciate it. I really do. I just would like to open up first, man. Everyone, things I've been asking, the other guests are, do you go to therapy? Have you ever gone to therapy? And what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, as an artist, I feel like it's instrumental. It's really difficult because there's this common misconception that in order to be a great artist, you have to lean into the negativity and the pain and the experiences that you had before. I've been in therapy. I'm currently in therapy. There's a gap in between that of about 2 years. And I noticed that I was almost more off my game during the
Mhm.
time that I was away from it because of the fact that, yes, you have great actors that can completely let go and throw themselves into the work. And, I give them props if they're able to do it without therapy. But then you have the Heath Ledgers of the world who got so deep into what happened. And, I wonder what would have happened if there was, a support system in the time that he was, self-medicating because of the work that he was doing. So I think that it's instrumental, especially as an actor, especially as somebody that is bearing their soul and putting themselves into the positions of other people, that you are maintaining positive mental health during that time.
That's a great answer. Yeah, no, I think there's the stigma. I think the stigma has kind of gone away, so to speak, or maybe not. I don't know. Like, maybe in my world, it's kind of disappeared where everyone's like, "Oh, therapy, ugh. But I think it's very detrimental, like you said, to artists, such as myself. So, tell the audience who you are. Like I said before, I met you through just Facebook. I posed a question of, hey, this is a podcast I'm starting, and you were one of maybe 2 or 3 people that I never met in person. I've never worked with. And you reached out and you said, you were very interested in certain topics. So kind of like give the audience, who is Matt Stoner?
Well, as you know, my name is Matt Stoner. I'm 31 years old. I grew up in Laguna Beach, California. I'm based in Los Angeles. I've been involved in the arts since I was a young child. I mean, I grew up in a theater community of Laguna Beach, also known for the TV show and all the other crazy stuff.
That's how New Jersey is. Yeah. New Jersey is very much either Sopranos or Jersey Shore.
Of course, I've been to the Jersey Shore once, and that's kind of my experience. But no, so I mean, I started going to theater when I was 7, and at my very first show, I looked at my parents and I said, "How do I do this?" And they had a talk back after the show, and I said, "How do I do this?" And so I started acting when I was 9 years old. I come from an industry family. My uncle is an entertainment lawyer who's also a music and entertainment manager. He was Jack Black's first manager. He was the Red Hot Chili Peppers' first manager. So, I come from a family that is very much integrated into the arts. So growing up with a rounded artistic background was such an integral part of becoming who I am today. And I kind of ran with it. You know, I was in a conservatory for a long time. I got a BFA acting degree, which was a half film, half theater degree. I took like producing classes from the guy that produced, I think it was The Godfather, Michael
Jesus.
Phillips. So, I mean, I like the opportunities that I've been presented on my journey has been absolutely spectacular. Um, but at heart, I'm an artist. I'm a creative. I still act. I do a lot of producing. I produced a film in 2017. It came out in 2020. And I'm currently digital content producing for a digital media channel on online called Find.
Wow. So you're on both sides of the spectrum with acting and producing. How do you, which, at this point in your life, which one do you like more? Like, do you find the similarities in that? Do you enjoy producing more? Like you said, you've been acting since you were 7. So about 24 years you've been doing it, and then how long have you been producing? How long have you been at your, I guess, at your 9 to 5 or your day job?
Yeah, so I mean, I started producing 2017. One of the
Okay.
major, so I went to Chapman, which is one of the top 5 film schools in the U.S. Like, I was really lucky that the woman that ran my conservatory when I was young is married to the guy that runs the screen acting degree at Chapman. So I kind of had a very direct movement into that. I feel like today, and especially for young creatives in the industry, you have to be doing both. I have a ton of friends who have produced feature films and acted in them. There are so many opportunities for you to create your own art and to be at the forefront of creating what is going to be coming next in the industry versus sitting back and saying somebody's going to cast me in something. So that's sort of how I fell into producing. One of my best friends, Brendan Cook, wrote a feature film. I read it. I thought that it was spectacular. We needed to make it. And, we ended up being able to come across somebody that had the resources to make that happen. It was dumb luck. It's one of those crazy Hollywood stories where I was a waiter at a restaurant and I told people I'm a producer. And, 24 hours later, a dude shows up with a check for $250,000 and we made my movie.
Holy shit. It happens like that? Yeah, that's...
It does happen. It happens very rarely, but this.
And what's that movie called?
It's called I Wrote This For You. It's on Amazon Prime. It's on IMDb Pro. It's on Peacock. Available, all over in the United States. We just got international distribution. We're dubbing into Spanish. Will be available in South America starting in the middle of 2022. And then we're also available right now in the UK on IMDb TV, and we're hoping for Europe in the rest of the year. It's been a wild couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, well, like I said, you've been in it, for 24 years, right? You'd say like you've been in it. So, is it something where, yeah, it's been a wild couple of years, but like you've put your heart and soul into it. You've put everything into it. Like that must have been like a wow moment. I'm assuming like you must have been like, holy shit. At that moment were you like, wow, I'm here, or is that more being like complacent when you say like I'm here?
It's not even complacent. I think a lot of it is the fact that no matter where you are in your career, there is always something that you are chasing that is next.
Mm-hmm.
And there's such a degree of what is the next thing? I mean, our generation, my generation, is so tied into the principle of immediacy. We expect things to happen right away. I shot this film in 2017. We did reshoots in 2018. We officially released in 2020. I think it was 3 years ago to the day that we're shooting this episode. I won Best Screenplay and we won Best Director at London International. Yet here I am still struggling, still trying to get international distribution, still trying to make money on this. And I keep thinking, you know what, it's amazing that we've done this thing. There are still many things that I want to do with this film specifically, but the question is, what is coming next for me? And what am I doing now? And how am I going to continue to create an impact? Because the industry moves so rapidly that there's no room to breathe effectively. You can always take time away, but as long as you're in the middle of it, there's always going to be something for you to do next.
Yeah. No, that's a great example. I've only been I really have been in the industry, maybe I would say, and I'm not including college, I would say like 9 years, maybe 10. And it's forever changing. And when I wrap up a project, I'm already thinking like, all right, what's next? I'm a writer, actor. I did start off with writing and directing, but I do enjoy more so writing and acting. So yeah, I get the whole like, okay, what's next, what's next. The topic I wanted to talk to you about today, you kind of tell me you came from a family that's already been in the industry, so you probably have felt the pressure of making it, and that's what we want to talk about today. I would love to kind of hear your thoughts on it. Like, first off, like you said, you came from a family of entertainers or within the entertainment industry. So I guess at what age did you feel, if any, pressure of like, I have to kind of keep this train going, so to speak?
I feel like it was less pressure and more passion. It was, I've never been pressured. My family has been infinitely supportive. I'm very grateful that I come from a family that supports it because they've experienced it, they've seen it. As I mentioned, my uncle works in the industry. Even the littlest things that I've done in terms of the industry, he is immensely proud of because he knows the barriers to entry. I didn't learn this until after I like fell in love with movie making. My father spent the first half of his life running movie theaters back in Texas. So like I've always had a little bit of a foot in the movie business, in the business of creating,
Yeah.
but there's never been pressure. It's always been on my terms. Even when I decided to start producing, it was on my terms. My family, now that I'm 31 years old, I could still be waiting tables and pushing for the acting career. And that, Morgan Freeman didn't make it till he was over 50. We have
Harrison Ford. Yeah.
Harrison Ford, who was a carpenter and was fighting to, become part of the industry. I read a quote from him literally today saying that at his first screen test, the producer said, "I don't think that you will ever make it in this industry because another actor that walked on with a bag of fruit, you look at him and you say, this is a movie star." And Harrison Ford says, "You're supposed to think this is a guy with a bag of fruit."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that guy must have felt stupid.
Much external pressure. And that has really changed my view on what making it means. Because I feel like today, especially with the changing of the industry, um, it's kind of up to you to determine what it means to make it. And you can set your sights as high as they go or as low as they go. But whatever you determine it to be is kind of going to be how you.
So you wouldn't say your family or friends like kind of put the pressure or made you feel like they never believed in that you were gonna like, you know oh, filming and acting is not real work. You never felt that from anyone? It's close to.
Restaurants. Like there was the weirdest thing would always happen. Everybody would look at me and say, "You're an actor, aren't you?" And I don't know if it's like a vibe I.
Well, you sound your voice, the way you pronounce things, the way you talk, you definitely have this air of confidence, or you have this air of, like, your self-assuredness, if that's self-assured. Yeah, like, you have that, so maybe that's what it is. And like I said, I'm only seeing you virtually, so I don't know if the way you move, the way you look, you are like, yeah, oh no, you do look like an artist, you do look like an actor. But I could tell from just how you carry yourself, vocally, I guess you could say. I know it sounds weird, but we only know each other via virtual. But yeah, no, I could see why someone would, while you're acting, or even it's probably your presence, like depending on like, do you gravitate more towards, funny movies or funny things or something like that? It really could tell, people could probably tell.
In life, I feel like we're performative. I mean, one of the great Shakespeare quotes is, it's to an effect, life imitates art. All the world's a stage, and all the people merely players. And I feel like all of us are capable of acting in our day to day lives. Like when I was serving tables, I've now left the industry. Um, it was a performance to me. I was putting on a character, and the character is the waiter. When I'm interacting with different groups of friends, of course, I interact in different ways with them. So I feel like the way in which I've been a creative has bled into my life to such a degree that I will always be authentic with people. I'll always interact with them in a legitimate way. But we all have the ability to sort of change how we are depending on what we're.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Like, I think like you said, like the world is a stage, like you just said, in a better terms how you said it. and I think people, inherently just love drama. Like the gossip of columns and this and that, and it's drama based, and that's what in general acting to me is. Every movie, every film, there's some sort of high stakes or low stake drama, right? So that's exactly. So did you ever? So you never felt like to? I guess you never put pressure on yourself while doing this, or so how did you self pressure? Yeah, yeah.
Even if there is no external pressure. So my best friend, his name is Brendan Keel Cook. He is a full-time actor. He just got back from Philadelphia shooting a Netflix movie with Robert Downey Jr. Right before that, he is in Encounter with Riz Ahmed and Octavia Spencer. I mean, this kid is doing incredible, brilliant things. He's a brilliant actor. And he and I were roommates for a long time. We've grown up together. I've known him since middle school. And seeing what he has done when we were with the same agency, seeing what he did in this period of time that he was with them versus the trajectory where I was going, I had a really hard time not comparing myself to what he was doing. And it really took, once again, going to therapy, having these conversations in order to say, I am my own person. I may have a different path and a different trajectory, but I cannot hold against other people why they're successful, how they're successful, what they are doing. They just have a different path. There are different roles meant for them. And we see this when you are coming into Amazon and Netflix movies and these brilliant projects that he's been working on. It's because he deserves it.
Yeah.
And because he's done the work, and because honestly, he's probably one of the most brilliant actors I've ever seen. And I'm excited to see what he does, but I can't compare myself to him. And that was something that I really needed to learn.
Yeah, I think comparison it's just not the downfall, but it is the death to many artists, in my opinion. I think it's, I really do think it's something that, it just, I don't even know how to really say it. I comparing, because someone's probably comparing themselves to you, like they really are, like someone that you may know is looking like, oh my God, like, wow, like I feel like I'm, not even where Matt wants to be, so I feel like everyone is always staring at what, always looking at like what you're doing, it's a continuous cycle that I feel like is just never ending, like really, I feel like it is absolutely never ending.
That brings us back to making it. I mean, the idea of making it is if your eyes are always on something bigger. Quentin Tarantino is in the process of making his 10th and possibly final movie. He is one of the biggest directors in the world, one of the most prolific directors and artists that exists. What pressure is he putting on himself as Quentin Tarantino to move forward into the future in such a substantive way that he will create, an epic that will eclipse all of his other works, as spectacular as they are?
Yeah.
I feel like that, and that's the interesting point about the concept of making it is self-defined.
Yeah. Oh, it is. It totally is, because some people probably feel, and you even break it down to like a non-artist like level, like people's version of making it is, okay, I'm gonna, get married and have kids, or I'm going to, work at this job that I went to school for, or I'm going to, I don't want a family, I want to travel, so there's all these different versions of like, living your life and making it per se, so do you, what's the actual definition of a successful artist in your mind? Or what would make, like, when you at the end, like, you fast forward and we're old men, and okay, you look back, you're like, all right, what made me a successful artist?
I made the art I wanted to make. I think that's it. There's no, I mean, I don't attach a monetary value to it. I don't attach a success metric to it. I feel like there are so many artists and especially actors, and unfortunately in the generation that we're in, people going, I want to be the next Tom Holland. I want to be the next Tom Hardy. I want to be the
Yeah.
next Leo DiCaprio. Um, I don't know if going into the future there's going to be as many of those. There are so, especially in the acting world, the casting world, because I've worked on the casting side as well. There are so few roles compared to the number of actors that exist out there right now, and they are always going to want to try and work on the bankability factor of it. And that's kind of where my producing mind jumps in. I'm working on a film right now. We're looking at a $20 million budget to make this movie, and we're going, hey, we need X, Y, and Z in terms of acting content, and these actors are already established. So it kind of makes me question whether or not the small independent films like what I made my first film are going to exist. And the question really is, will this exist into the future, and can we actually adjust the definition of what artistic success is? And that's why I've adjusted mine to, I just want to be able to make the art that impacts people, that makes people feel that I want to make. And even if I never make $1 doing it, I will have done what I wanted to do.
Yeah, I think this may sound crazy or stupid, so forgive me. I do think indie films or low budget films like your I Wrote This For You, that film, I don't know what the budget was, but I'm sure it wasn't 20 or 30 million, or maybe it was, if it was, yeah. So
we got a Technicolor grant. So we were coloring in Steven Spielberg's Technicolor room. Like literally Steven Spielberg would leave and we would walk in right after him. We got a Panavision grant. We got a Panavision camera package, $100,000 camera package that we paid $2,000 or $3,000 for. So overall value in terms of the movie was about $1 million.
Okay. So I think those movies will still exist because there's always, I think at the end of the day, I've never worked on a Hollywood film, so I could sit here and assume that Hollywood doesn't give a shit about stories, right? And that's always a small boy or small guy, like, independent, like, oh, well, they, make something original, like that's, everyone's always shouting that from the rooftops. But I think, Hollywood does bring some, you look at some of the biopics that are happening this year and other things, like it's stories that I'm very unaware of the people that are being made about, so, I think there's always going to be room for like that indie, that 1.5 million indie film compared to $20-30 million budgets.
I would almost argue, and not necessarily argue, I would say those films are always going to exist as long as you can find the financial means to make them. And I think that this $750,000 to $3.5, maybe $4 million movie is a barrier to entry to sort of take that next step. And that's kind of what it's going to be. The number of people that go to Sundance on a yearly basis, the average Sundance film is 5 million up. And these are supposed to be indie films. And right down the street, Slam Dance. I have a few friends from Chapman that I graduated with that won Slam Dance in 2018 when I was there. I was at Sundance. And they made their film for like $200,000. It got picked up by a major distributor, and they're kind of doing their thing now. So you never know what the cost is going to be. Independent film will always exist. It will always be there. In the age of the pandemic, it has gotten exponentially more difficult because studios are wanting to go with films that have a built-in audience. You have another Thor coming out this year. You have like Legally Blonde 3 coming out this year. It's all of these sequels. And for the next couple of years, that's kind of how I see things going. And unfortunately, while people are so unsure as to what the global landscape is going to look like, I'm afraid that that's kind of going to be where we're stuck until a spectacular indie film comes out that goes, hey, by the way, we need to be investing in these projects as well.
Do you think it's going to be going that way because, like, for nostalgia purposes, familiarity purposes, like, what you said kind of makes sense. Like, oh, people want familiar movies, familiar stories. So why not do a Legally Blonde 3, a fourth Thor, things of that nature?
I think it's a combination. In conversations that I've had with investors that are major studios, we're working with a producer right now that has a $100 million output deal with Universal. And the conversations that he's having are, we need to hedge our bets and protect our investments and guarantee that people are going to go back to the theaters. The last time that we had major theater numbers were 2017, 2018. We were doing, I think it was $7.3 billion in the box office that year.
Wow.
But we also just had a record breaking for the pandemic fourth quarter because of Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yeah.
And you've seen such amazing things. You have the Batman that has already sold out all of their pre-sale tickets. These are all things I feel like there's a combination between nostalgia and we're throwing it back to the 1920s and the Spanish flu, where we're going to have a resurgence of what was the Roaring 20s, where people are going to want to get out of their homes. They're going to want to go to the movies and experience new things. But also, big money, these major studios are in fact protecting their investments, and I do feel like to a degree they know that this is a safe bet, and that is why independent films, and even independent films with great stories, and I'm not trying to toot my team's horn, but I feel like that we have a very important, very good story, still have trouble getting financing at the $5 million level, so we had to raise our budget to $20 million to even be considered, which is
Yeah.
kind of an ironic thing.
Well, first of all, yeah, toot your horn, man, toot it away. I think that's the most important part. Like, if you think your story's good, and listen, I'm always caught in between. Like when I go to festivals, like this filmmaker wants to call himself a filmmaker, but the film wasn't as good. Like I'm always torn between like trying to be very nice and being like that was not that good. But you believe in it, man. Like I've only made short films. Honestly, I've never tackled a feature. I know a handful of my friends who have, and it seems very daunting to me, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. And especially with a budget of your caliber, that's crazy. That to me, that's a little like that's even a little more frightening, especially if you don't have a producer. But you thrive on, and that's your position. You're the producer. You're able to, you're the finance guy, you're the producer, so you probably feel more like secure in it as well. But I think it's very important for you to carry that, like, yes, I think we're making a really good story, a really good project. We made something good because, I think it's just very, very important to be confident in that, because I think a lot of people can easily go south and be like, "Oh shit, well my project kind of sucked," So
So the first we went through, like, I need to preface this by saying that, like, I have been told that I am good at producing.
Mhm.
I love creative producing. With regards to the money aspect of things, I hate it. It is the
No, yeah.
absolute worst part of my job because, you know, I can't make guarantees to anybody. I can just tell them what our projections are. I don't want to have to worry about money. Like, we ran out of money halfway through my feature, and I had to call my executive producer and say, "Hey, by the way, we blew through 250 grand. We're 6 days in out of 17. What are we gonna do?"
Yeah.
And when it really comes down to it, like, this comes back to what is the definition of making it. The film that I made is distributed worldwide. We have a 5.5 out of 10 on IMDb, but we've won 11 awards and had 16 nominations at international film festivals because it's an indie film, right? It has that grit, that very artistic kind of aspect to it, and it is a very focused film. It resides in the world of Los Angeles, in the world of poetry. It's a heartbreak story. It's a love story to Los Angeles. But on the other side of things, if that is not what your niche is, you're not going to appreciate it.
Yeah.
So it's again that, like, have I made it if I've won all of these awards and I've traveled, in 2019, I was in 7 countries with this movie, including Saudi Arabia.
Wow.
And it's like, but also we're yet to see any money from it. So that once again goes back to the have I made it? Has this film made it? Whereas maybe just having the accomplishment of being able to get through the finish line and having a product to show to people, enough. And that's a
Mhm.
question that I still battle with on a daily basis.
wow, it's such a hard thing to try to wrap your head around. Like for me, there's a lot of outside forces that I feel like, okay, I need to make it. I need to do this. I need to do that. And it's not even outside forces. It's just me thinking it's the outside forces, but it's really inside being like, oh, wow, I need to make it. I need to be this. I need to be that, like I put a lot of pressure on myself,
Well, let me ask you a question. What's your definition of making it?
I mean, for me, it would be like, I guess like your best friend, like a working artist, like get rid, not have to really do odd jobs, 9 to 5, work in the industry as a full-time artist, whether it be producing, writing, or acting, and then, that's probably the more safe bet. But also on the other hand, like if making it is, you know, getting to success, like for me right now, like short term of making it would be making a feature film, completing it, putting it into festivals, screening it somewhere, or just saying, hey, I did my first feature film. That's like the short term, like 10-year, 5 to 10 year goal of like wanting to make it. The long term goal is definitely be a successful working artist. Now, successful means just not going, like not living on the street, you know, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going to be like, oh man, right now I live in a 1.5 bedroom apartment. Some of my best friends live in 4 bedroom houses, and we're both equally happy because it's, I'm going to sound cheesy, I guess, but it's like the love and the care that's inside this house. Like I live with my wife who supports me nonstop. You have friends and family that support you nonstop. Like that's the comfort zone of it. So at first, I think you mentioned this earlier on, a lot of people enter film and movies to make money. Like I think a lot of people do that. I went to school for it thinking, yeah, you know what? I'm going to be a big time Hollywood movie maker or movie producer or filmmaker. And you know what? That dream still may be there because I'm 34. You mentioned, the Morgan Freemans. Kevin Hart said his overnight success took 11 years, so that dream of being there and being rewarded in some fashion of like, people really liking your work and all that, like that's still definitely obtainable and reachable. But I've also learned on the flip side of like, hey, set yourself some small short goals. Like, within 5 years, do a feature, or like I have a lot of short films under my belt, so to speak, I guess you can say, that have won awards, and I'm very proud of them, and I've gotten better with each and every one of them. But at some point, I know I'm going to have to make the jump to a feature film. Like that's just that.
That's the scariest part, and it's
Mhm.
kind of the mental barrier that we put upon ourselves is like, so first of all, I never thought that I would ever be a producer. Like I fell into it by accident, and I just started saying I'm a producer, and I just kind of fell into it. You are a director, you are a filmmaker. The director and writer of this project that we're working on now, with the massive budget that we were talking about before, made his first feature film on a mini DV camera. He edited, directed, acted in, distributed everything himself. It was a horror film. It went to a ton of film festivals. It won a ton of awards, and he made it for $7,000 in like
Wow.
2 months.
Well, yeah, you look at like Paranormal Activity. Like they made their first film.
40,000.
Yeah, if that. I was gonna say 26,000, but yeah, like 40,000.
They bought the camera and then
Yeah.
returned it after they were done shooting it.
And now that's 4, 5, 6 movies later, millions of dollars. Like I think when it hits and it clicks for certain people, everyone else's story is different, as cheesy as that sounds, but really it's true. Everyone's story is very, very different. So, and paths are different. So, whether you're meant to make it or not, that's for fate to determine, in my opinion. But I think the people who stick it out more is like, and I'm gonna try and, this is the last, I guess, cheesy line I'll try and use, but really, I do believe like only the strong survive. Really, I know it sounds cheesy as shit, but it's true. I think people who don't like let the first few hurdles, their first 5 years or first 2 years, if they can get over that, if all the problems that they do encounter, if they can face that and come over it, or overcome it, I think it's the sky's the limit for some people like that.
I've been doing this for 24 years. Like I had a chance to be a child actor, and of course, because I had industry family, I was shielded from that. I went through to traditional route. I did film school. I've made a feature film. I've had opportunities to do major projects. I've done, major network television and feature films in terms of acting stuff. And I'm still sitting here going, what's next? And what I've
Yeah.
done is I've sort of pivoted my version, right? So, the work that I'm doing right now is I'm digital content producing and creating content for an online news channel, and I'm still performing every single day, and I'm writing every single day, and I'm producing every single day, and I'm managing talent every single day. And this could be my life for the next 10, 15 years until I jump off and jump back into my own production company. But at least I'm creating. And I may have shifted what the definition of making it is or what creating is, but I am now working full time on salary for a company that is paying me to make art.
Yeah, it's great.
And I would have never thought that I would be happy doing this until I had the opportunity and said, you know what, let me give this a shot. And here I am.
It's funny how, like I said, just sometimes how life works, and people can be in the industry for so many years, and nothing bites. But like I said, it's just the way it is, man. It's very much interesting, how life plays it out. Do you this might be an obvious question, but do you think it's helpful or harmful? Like, how helpful or harmful do you think, putting pressure on yourself, or like the pressure we feel from others, like, do you think it's more harmful or helpful sometimes? Like, could it light a fire under someone's ass, or could it be like detrimental to their mental health?
It depends on the kind of pressure. Support, encouraging people to pursue their dreams despite the adversity that they may face, I feel like is a very strong thing. But creating a definition of you have to make it in this way could be detrimental. I did that to myself with one of my best friends. Again, Brennan has surpassed anything that I have ever done. And if I tried to chase what he was doing, I feel like I would have just put myself in such a negative position because I am trying to, it's inauthentic to what I am meant to do and what I've done. And it also just kind of ignores the fact that I have been able to do so much in my career, despite the fact that there is so much more that I want to do. I think it's all about in the way that you approach it. There is, it was one of the Chris's of all four of them said, I think it was Chris Hemsworth said, all you need to do is apply relentless pressure and eventually it will break. And that is a quote that's kind of motivated me for a very long time.
What do you think he meant by that? Like, what relentless pressure? Like going to auditions, or just making your own work? Like just not giving in?
From the time that he had that quote, I think it's changed. At the time, I'm sure it was keep going to auditions, keep networking, go to as many screenings as you can, meet as many actors as you can, go to casting director workshops, be in class. Now, with the way that the industry is going, I do think a lot of it is create your own work. I graduated from Chapman in 2013, and even then, the narrative was we're going to create a degree, and the degree is BFA of screen acting. We're going to create a degree that allows you to consistently create your own work. So 50% of the classes that I took were acting classes. I was in the theater school. The other half, my producing professor produced Waiting. My directing professor had directed several other movies. How I got my movie made was Michael Phillips, the guy that directed or produced The Godfather. So it was all of these individual people teaching me how to do everything outside of just acting. And in today's day and age, with short form content, and YouTube and Instagram and TikTok are all pushing short form content, 30 seconds, 60 seconds and less, with the ability to create your own content and put it on YouTube. You could, I make 4 YouTube videos a day, every single day, and I write 8 more of them for another piece of talent that works for me. The amount of opportunity to create your own success comes in the degree to which you're willing to commit yourself to adapting to what's happening in the industry as it is right now.
Where do you make you said you just make you make 4 videos a day?
Yeah, so so right now I'm working for
Or
a financial news channel.
yeah.
I've effectively adopted a persona that loves stocks and cryptocurrency. In the
Mhm.
process, I've actually kind of started loving stocks and cryptocurrency, so it's gotten easier. Um, I write videos for the channel. I create videos for the channel as well. That's my 9 to 5 at this point, um, as well as managing some of the other talent that we've had on the channel. In the last year, we've grown to 60,000 people that watch us every single day. We've had about 20 million people watch us in less than a year. We're expecting about 40 million people this year.
Wow.
So, and that just shows the growth opportunity that is available
Yeah.
if you are willing to take your success into your own hands.
Yeah. No, it'll be interesting to see how where I guess life goes, like in the digital media world, like in 10, 15 years. Like, as we get older, where are we going to be like, how do you even use this freaking thing? I don't think I'll ever really be like that, because like with an industry like that is forever developing, right? Like I remember I started college and like 10 years ago. I started college a little bit late, and in college they wanted to focus on like just documentary filmmaking. And then someone was like, no, I think we should do some narratives, and that, even that changed. And then that means the cameras got upgraded, and so things are forever, like that's why your phones are like owning a little DSLR camera in your pocket, because everything, you got to film everything on it, between TikTok.
The next iPhone is going to be 8K.
Yeah.
This is crazy. And I feel like that's a really good point you make, because if you take a look at the generation before us, they went from a television not existing to the existence of IMAX and theaters and cell phones and microcomputers in your pocket. Anybody born 1980 or later has experienced so much change in such a short period of time that we are automatically used to adapting immediately, because we do know everything is built in obsolescence. You have 1 year to master something, and then the next version is coming out like that. So
I
it's
mean,
going to be
that's
interesting to see
yeah.
how that continues to happen, and if that continues to accelerate or if it decelerates at all as we continue to move forward.
Yeah, I just have a I just wonder if there's ever if there's a ceiling. Like, is there ever going to be a ceiling with any of this stuff, or is it just going to keep going? If that makes sense. Like, you know, is your phone at some point going to be better than a camera, like better than a Red, better than an Ari Alexa? Like, is it going to be better than that? Like, is it going to have the capability to just literally make movies? Like, you can already make movies on this. There's editing software. There's all this stuff. So like,
Well, I mean, look at Tangerine. Tangerine went to Sundance, and it was one of the first movies made entirely on
Mhm.
iPhone. That same year, somebody made an actual movie on a Prius backup camera. Like, it doesn't even matter the quality. Give somebody a camera, and if they're
A good
artistic,
story. Yep.
they're going to do something with it, right? And I
Yeah.
think that's the most important thing. And that kind of goes back to the reason that I make movies. So I want to tell good stories. I don't care if it looks great. I don't care if it looks terrible. I was really blessed that my first opportunity, I was able to do amazing things. And I had a team of 287 people that helped me. But on top, yeah, I know. On top of that,
I freak out when I have 15.
yeah, no, it's imagine waking up one morning with that much money in a bank account and 6 department heads calling you, going, "Hey, you're the producer. What are we doing?"
Yeah. What? Yeah. What
That's
the
kind of
hell's
how it
happening?
happened. Yeah. So we all have it in us. As long as we are artists, as long as we are creatives, and as long as we believe in what we're doing, this is what we are meant to do, and we always will.
how much plays into, I guess, like this, like, mental health, like, of the, sorry, the pressure of making it. How much do you think, like, is it, how do I want to word this? Sorry, I'm trying to word it to where I don't sound stupid or it makes sense. Like, how much do you think plays into, I guess, bad mental health if you don't make it? Like, I think it's a number of, I think it is a culmination of things, especially for artists. Like, for me, it's like, I personally think, and this is another episode we're going to talk about down the road, is imposter syndrome. Like, I think I fall hard into that, but is it because I'm putting too much, and I also do think, though, I do put too much pressure on myself, but I don't know if that drives me. So do you think like it's a culmination of things, or do you think like the number one cause for like some like severe mental health in the arts is trying to make it, like trying to be like the next big thing like you see on Instagram, or like do you think it's something completely different?
I think it's generational. I think that a lot of what is happening to the younger generation is seeing the highlight reel that people do post on Instagram and the things that happen there. In general, as sort of an amalgamation of the arts, I think that creativity and artists in general are already predisposed for whatever reason to a degree of mental crisis. I don't know if that facilitates our ability to create. I don't know if there is any direct tie to it, but I've noticed that any artist that I know has had struggles with mental health. I don't know if it's
Yeah.
empathy. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Um, and I don't think it's cause and effect. I think
Mhm.
that it exists. And I think that the most important thing that you can do is ensure that you get the help and manage it as effectively as possible, so that all of these third party things like, imposter syndrome and like not making it, like, yes, if you quote unquote fail at your dream, you're going to be sad. But I spent 20 years as an actor and said, you know what? Maybe this isn't what I'm meant to do, but as long as I'm still creating, maybe I should stay in the arts. I'll start producing. I have an opportunity to digital produce. Now I'm digital producing and performing full time. As long as you are shapeable within a confines of a broader, I want to create, I think that
Mhm.
everything will always be okay.
All right, Matt. Well, I do appreciate you coming on. And I do look forward to talking to you again about, other topics. I think you have a lot to offer, man. I do appreciate it. Do you have any thing you want to, projects you want to plug, social media, YouTube channel, anything of that nature? Please feel free to plug away.
Yeah, I'll throw it out there. Again, the feature I produced is I Wrote This For You. In the US, it's available on Amazon Prime. It should be on IMDb Pro. It's on Peacock right now. The YouTube channel is Finance News. We're putting up videos on a daily basis. We just grew our team. Just Google Finance News YouTube, should pop up right up. And I think one of the most important things that I can say is, for every artist out there that is struggling, understand that you are not alone, and understand that this is a struggle that all of us has gone through. And one of the most important things that you can do is make sure that you have somebody to talk to, because at the end of the day, as long as you are creating, you are powerful.
Perfect. Love that. Thanks, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Take it easy. Thanks, Chris.
Once again, this is Where Is My Mind, a podcast about mental health and the arts. I'm host and producer of the podcast, Christopher Orangeo. All episodes will be available on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Radio Public, and Amazon Music. Once again, this is Chris Orangeo, and thank you for supporting.